Welcome to the AI for Interior Designers podcast, where creativity meets cutting edge technology. In each episode, we dive deep into the world of artificial intelligence and explore how it's revolutionizing the interior design industry. From AI-powered design tools to the latest trends and innovations, we've got you covered. So plug in, relax, and let's embark on this exciting journey together. Welcome to AI for Interior Designers podcast. P.S. This intro was written by and voiced by AI to sound like your host, Jenna Gaidusek.
Hey designers, welcome back for episode 64 of the AI for Interior Designers podcast. I'm your host, Jenna Gaidusek. And today I would love to talk about who's been stealing all of our website traffic. If you're not familiar with the term zero-click search, this is a small business and now larger issue that we have been dealing with for, I'd say, about 2 years now, slowly creeping up on us, okay? Now, for those of you that are small businesses and maybe you don't run your own website and you had somebody build it for you and you never really hooked up analytics to it or know where to find them, do that now. You got to figure out your analytics. You need to know who's been to your website. What are they clicking on? How are they finding you? Where did they come from? No, and then what did they do when they were there? Okay, so definitely set up any analytics so that you can look at your traffic and see what's up. Like, what's up? What are people doing on my website? Are they even coming to my website? And I think a lot of designers just never really have been into that part of the business, right? A lot of designers are like, well, I have a web guy, they handle it. They handle the website, they do the updates. And I'm not a fan of that structure. Like, it's one thing to have somebody build a website for you. You're not website builders, I get it. I wasn't either when I launched my first one in 2015, but since I've built so many websites, I can't even tell you. And because Squarespace honestly makes it so easy, not promoted, but love Squarespace, have always used them. And now it's really like a great all-in-one tool. So SEO optimizations in there, just trying to figure out how you can be better online about showing up in search results and using AI to help you to do that. Okay, so can't say enough great things about Squarespace, but my analytics are right inside. Like, it just comes default with it. Of course, I could set up, the Google Analytics hookup as well, which I've done for other sites. But I actually am really happy with the analytic breakdown that I get directly from Squarespace. So that's what I typically keep an eye on. When I launched my first website, I will say those analytics I would see all day. Like, who's been on my website? Is somebody on right now? Is somebody looking? And I would watch that and try and figure out, okay, where did they come from? What was the post that sent them there? And at the time it was my style quiz, which got so many, I would say, if I had to recall, I had over 16,000 people give their email to figure out which farmhouse style are you? That's how old this thing is. And then it just kept going for years on Pinterest, just never died. Even when I took down the page, people were still like, oh, this is defunct. I'm like, yeah, because farmhouse is defunct. That's why. This isn't a thing anymore. We're not doing this. So that's why I took it down. But anyway, it was a great lead generator. And I would sit there and I would watch my analytics and be like, oh my gosh, there's 2 people on my website right now. This person I can see is from Florida, because you can actually see real-time data, where people are coming from. That's just my analytic nerd side. And I love numbers because I like to figure out where things come from. If my time and my ROI for what I'm putting out there is worth it, is this something that people even want, right? Now, times have significantly changed since what I'm telling you I was doing back then. Now I look at my analytics, I still look at them just to see spikes and all that stuff. But once a month now, it's not all day, every day compulsiveness. When you launch a business and you're like, okay, website's up. Where's all the people? Which I think a lot of us do. But it takes time to build that. And it took a lot of time to build up SEO on, our websites, especially if you have no backlinks, meaning you're not interviewed for something on another website, you didn't share content with another creator, that type of stuff. Those are backlinks. That is what helps to ping people from site to site. So if you're just starting, you're like, where's all the people? Website's up, guys. Come on, let's go now. But it takes time. SEO, search engine optimization, is basically what tells, or previously had always told Google and the search engines, like, look for long keyword phrases or long tail, however, long form or whatever they want to call them. And then like try and match words, basically. Like look for those phrases. And then when somebody types that into Google, find something that's like that and then take them to their site. So, keyword ranking, you would get, the more you could stuff into a blog post, the more chances you had of being higher up in your results page when somebody searched for that topic. But now, and as it gets better and better, we're seeing more and more zero-click searches, meaning that AI now will do a summary, right? I know you've seen this, but they will do a summary when you go to Google, and it will be an AI-generated summary. And it will just say, okay, here's all the info that you need. You don't need to go anywhere else. We got it. If you want to, you can. It's going to source that information. If you had just asked who's the best interior designer in Charleston, South Carolina, and it came up with like 5 different people, you're like, well, I'm not on there. Then you might want to work on, why? Why are you not on there? Because you're probably not capturing the right location, the right words, all that stuff on your website. So there is a caveat to that, though, because even though they do the AI search and say, like, who's the best interior designer, like, if you don't have enough relevant information to be able to pop up and show that, like, you are a professional, you are an expert in your field, you still won't even show up in those zero-click searches in the AI summary that pops up. Okay. So unfortunately, like blogging and writing your website copy and making sure that those keywords, it's not dead. We do still very much need to do that, but we need to come from a place of more authority with it, because that is what is showing up more and ranking higher in these AI search results. Okay. So let me take a step back here and kind of talk about what these large language models, the LLMs, and other search tools are doing, what they are, and the ones that I like because they do link back, and then what the like major issues are here with zero-click linking, I guess. Okay, so ChatGPT, right? A lot of people are using ChatGPT these days, and now they search something, they have a full-on conversation with their chatbot, and that they get answers, and they search for stuff, and it's not just, hey, here's the quick question, who's the best interior designers in my local area? Now it's like, I'm looking for an interior designer that specializes in aging in place in this location. We have a new home in this location. Who can you find for us? And it's more tailored and customized search results because it's chat form, right? Versus just one sentence. Okay, there's all my results. Let me go through 300 pages of Google and hope that I find what I'm looking for, right? So now you're having these chat conversations, and in ChatGPT, they're getting better about it, but it still is like my least favorite for actually citing where the information comes from. So, there's deep research, which is great for citing and in sourcing, but in just regular conversation threads, it's just not it for me right now. A 5.1 will be coming out soon. They will be taking 5.0, which lost all the personality that the older versions had. They will be archiving that in the next few months. But I'm hoping that in 5.1, we do start to see more sources, more linking to where the information has come from, like Perplexity has always done. So Perplexity is, if you haven't heard me talk about it, my favorite search engine slash large language model compilation, because it's not just ChatGPT. It's actually like a ton of different large language models inside of a search engine that they built. Basically, my browser is not Microsoft Edge. It is not Chrome anymore. I do have them. It is now the comment browser from Perplexity, and it is agentic, meaning that like if I wanted it to go do something for me and I'm logged into that page, it can go and do that. But for research, it is like my built-in assistant. And I love it because it will give me links to all of those things that I just requested information for. So I go and I do further research. And I also love it because it's not bias. So like, it's not necessarily pay to play, though there are advertisements and it's very obvious that they are ads, and they're very minimal at this point in time. But aside from that, like, the results that I say that, but I pay for Pro and I really don't see a lot of ads anymore. Okay, tangent. We'll come back to that. So anyway, when I am doing my searches in there, like I'm getting all the resources, and then it's not biased. It's not like who paid to be here, all that stuff like on Google, right? Just because they paid, they're not always the best. They just have the most money to be able to rank higher. So now these models are looking at the overall picture, if you want to think of it that way. They are looking at, AI for interior designers.com, and they're like, okay, what do they do? What do they teach? Let's take all of these blogs, all of these things, and really see if they are the expert in leading in this industry. And of course we are. No, I'm just kidding. But the SEO that I purchased that website for, that's why I bought that domain 2.5 years ago, because I was like, nobody else has this. SEO. What are you going to search, right? Think about that as well. Like AI for interior designers, it is so point blank that it doesn't need to have frills on it. And that's how I build all my businesses, honestly, like simple. My design business is my first and last name. Nobody can ever spell it. I feel like I probably should not have done that, but it was 10 years ago that I started that company. So when I build things, like I always look for not always the most fun verbiage around it, but what's going to pop up in a search result. And then you can always do for packages, I hate the word packages, but for your services and offerings and stuff, you can name them fun little things, but you do need to still call them like interior design services or whatever, because that flags the search engines. Okay. So going back to now, we got ChatGPT, we got Perplexity that's doing better. ChatGPT is doing better, but I have found that it's just not as great. And I actually have some numbers that I can share with you because it's not just me. So I was doing some research using Perplexity so that I could have a nice variety of different things here. But let me give you some breakdowns as to like the search platform that people are using, and then what the click-through rate is, and then what business impact is seeing. So I did get this particular information. It's from a website called superprompt.com, but I've also looked at a whole slew of things. They just have it best laid out that I'm going to read. Forbes also has some articles on this. There's tons of research. You should definitely go look, whatever your research tool is, go look and see for yourself. Okay. So here's the Google search, which is now kind of Google Gemini and Google regular search have now kind of combined into my phone. So it's not like one or the other. It's like, do you want to optimize this regular Google search for an AI search so you can get more out of it? So Google, the market share is about 85% overall, meaning like how many people are like searching. I think it's, weekly. Typically, we know that Google is the king, right? Like it's kind of a monopoly at this point, but we are seeing other things pop up. So it's interesting. Now, their zero click rate is 60%. So that is what their AI overviews are. So it's not 60% is not a lot. It's not pulling every single person to that website. They're just looking at the summary. So the impact here is that the traditional SEO is less effective because that's the old way of doing things, right? Is to make sure that your words match for what somebody Googles. And the simplest way I could describe that. Now, ChatGPT has over 100 million weekly inquiries, and that is 95% direct answers. So the content actually rarely sources what it's cited. And I can attest to that. Like, I feel like ChatGPT gives me nothing. And I'm like, where did you find that? And then that's where it's also like lying a lot. I don't want my large language model to lie to me. I want to know, where did you find that information so that I can double check it and gain some knowledge and context around it? And that's why I like Perplexity for that reason. Also, deep research in any of the large language models. You just got to dig a little deeper and it'll give you all the links too. So Perplexity is, again, my favorite. According to this information, and this is from 2025, so I am pulling the most up-to-date from this report here. Perplexity has over 30 million monthly users. 85% are summarized answers, and citations provide some traffic. I also looked at my analytics to see if this matched, and it did. I'll go over my stuff in a minute. Claude and Gemini So they've kind of put these two together in here for some reason. Now, Claude is, of course, another large language model. I know it's amazing, especially for those that code and stuff, but in writing and all that, I like my other models. I have Claude inside of Perplexity, so I'm just not using that one as much. But great things I've heard, check it out if that's up your wheelhouse. I don't know. Is that the phrase? In your wheelhouse? I don't know. Okay, so Claude and Gemini they've combined here, and it says rapidly growing with 90% plus in research focus. So the minimal website, and it gives minimal website referrals, meaning that it's like not sending people back to your website. Now, I will say in Gemini, though, because that's Google, when you do the deep research, it does. Like it gives you a whole source list. Same for ChatGPT, same for Perplexity. Like that's why I like to do that because I get full on reports with the information versus the chat threads, which are just kind of like, yeah, here you go. Here's the info. And it's like, from where? Like, where'd you get that? Okay. So let me just review a few of, I'm just going to tell you like what I have found in my analytics as I was going through this. So I'm going to do year to date for right now and just kind of let you know, like, what these large language models were pulling in. So year to date right now for my referral links, ChatGPT is actually like probably my second thing aside from like my personal website, Jenna Gaidusek Designs, that actually somehow sends a lot of traffic. I guess I have it sent over there. So if people Google my name and they go to my website, which is my name, then they're probably like, okay, where's the design stuff? And then maybe that's sending people over. So that is actually only 100, no, that's less than 80 difference. So people coming from my website is top, and then ChatGPT is next for referral search, and it's only like 80 something people difference for all year. So it's the top. Okay, so ChatGPT is actually sending people to my site. However, my website versus my design website are two totally different things, right? My business for AI for interior designers, I would hope, is going to be popping up in AI tools, right? Now, we're going to talk about in a second what you can do to show up in these things because you're not teaching AI and you need to be relevant to the people that are your target audience, right? So your searches are going to be different than mine. But I do recommend you go look at this stuff in the back of your website in your analytics. Pull it for, when did you release blogs? Are they going to the blogs? Like all that stuff. Look at it. I've also got Perplexity on here. And surprisingly, Perplexity is low, really low. It's probably one of my lowest, well, not totally low, but it's in the bottom quarter. I do not see anything on here. Actually, I think I had Claude. Yeah, I think I had like 3 or something from Claude. So that's probably just because people in our industry don't use it as much. But yeah, like, ChatGPT's up there. Okay. So just think about that. Like, what are people like looking for and coming from? I'm going to break down one more thing. So under search results here. Okay. So they do a referral tab and then search tab. So Google is obviously my highest performing of the search within Google. And that's probably why it wasn't in the other category, because under search, I also see here Gemini is also under that. So Google search has its own category for traffic sources, which is somehow separated from the other large language models because it's Google. So they can, right? And they've always had kind of this monopoly here. Now, Bing is another one that you should probably keep an eye on for search results because it's having another moment, like it's coming back. So Bing by Microsoft, which I believe is powered by ChatGPT, and I could totally be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is. That is actually close behind my my Google regular searches and then the Gemini. It definitely ranks higher than that. So interesting to see. Interesting to see where all of this stuff is coming from. Highly recommend that you go nerd out and check it out. You got a marketing person, you're probably doing this monthly. And if you're not, go check it out. Like go look at these things and see where your referrals and your searches are coming from and see what keywords people were also looking for. I've got all that stuff right here on the back of my Squarespace website, which is really cool. And of course, like Google can pull even more from this with the plugin that you can use for your website too. And a lot of people probably already using that, which is great. Okay, 60% of searches end without clicks. 60% of searches end without clicks. So 2 years ago, every Google search went to a website, right? Like, how else would you get the information? The meta description? Like, you had to. You have to. And then you got to read and you got to scroll. Now we got summarizers on a landing page when you get there. So 25% of organic traffic drop for small businesses. Okay, 25% of organic traffic searches have dropped for small business companies, and they're reporting $3.2 billion of lost revenue annually because of this 60% of searches not ending with click-throughs. So that's pretty crazy. Okay, let's now just talk about what it is that we're going to be doing here to try and fix this. Okay. I think some of this is just going to have to be like, okay, we have to just keep trying different things and figure out what is resonating. So as AI models change constantly, things are going to change. But there's one thing, unfortunately, that still remains the same, and that is the long format like blogs. However, there's more of an emphasis now on making sure that you are the authority. So the things that you're saying in there are things like behind the scenes things, like here's what we did to get these results in the real world, which ChatGPT could not do for you, right? Like we are differentiating the human side of our industry and what we do and who we serve because AI could never do that, right? So like that's what we're documenting on our website to build that cred. Okay. So here are some optimization ideas for you. So become the primary source. You're going to create comprehensive, authoritative content that AI models reference as the definitive source. Okay. So when you do that, like it's just solidifying that you're not one of these companies that popped up and I'm just giving a hypothetical, but we will, I'm sure, be seeing it soon, uses AI and comes across online that they are a designer, right? Like, here's all my beautiful work and here's my portfolio and here's what I can do for you, but like not a trained professional, somebody that just gets in and uses Nano Banana and ChatGPT and they can make some really pretty pictures, but actually finding the products, doing a floor plan, which like tell me if they could do a floor plan accurately, and then bringing it all to fruition and then installing it and having a happy client and like dealing with the issues that come up, right? Show how you do that in blog posts, in YouTube videos that you can then embed, because the words that you say in those videos are also helping your SEO. Okay, you can do a recap summary and just put that as a blog right underneath it. But those things build your authority and they prove you know what you're talking about because you have done it, and then you show the receipts for that. Right? Okay. And then we've got FAQ style content. So this is something I'm working on something, guys. I should have this out to you next week, I'm hoping. So you'll see. But I built another website. So I'm working on an FAQ page right now. So the program, there's a lot of angles. There's a lot of different ways you can kind of get in. And my job is to, this week, simplify. And to do that, it is a Q&A style FAQ. So what I'm going to do is basically take what somebody could literally just type into a chat bot, which there will be one, and also to, a Google search, right? Or a large language model search. And I will say like, how many of these classes are CEU certified? And then I would put the result right there. I would say the answer. I will also try and weave in how many of these AI for interior designer CEU classes are IDCEC certified. So like even longer, where it's pulling those words that could potentially be searched and not just saying, okay, here's the context, you're on the page, you should already know by now that we're talking about CEU classes. And, because there might not be that context around that sentence when you add in the supplemental words to say what the program is, who it's for, just the extra little things that could help you to pop up more in these chat-based formats. Okay, because it's matching more words and it's more conversational tone to do the Q and the A type of responses. Okay, so if you don't have one, a great way to do that is to go to a large language model, put in one of your pages, maybe a service page, maybe the whole thing. I would start by page, and put in a service link to your site and say, can you build me an FAQ page for this? And then what haven't I considered here that I can also include in the FAQ? Or go to your inbox and say, what questions have I answered over and over again about this particular thing? And then how did they ask them? Copy that, copy your reply. There's your FAQ that relates to this type of language. Okay. So authority building, we've already talked about, but part of that is also to get mentioned in high authority sources. So that's where backlinks are super important. Now, again, I am different in this company than my design business. But in this space, what I have done somewhat organically over the past 2 years since launching this is just been published in so many different locations in trade, like to the trade locations, right? So Business of Home, Sherwin-Williams, I was on their podcast and also on their website, which I do see show up analytically in the back end of my site, all these publications. So if you have the opportunity to write for, get interviewed for, or can submit something, do that. Press releases. You can actually go and do your own press releases. Some places have payment that is required to submit. Some of them are like $15 or something, and you can build authority through press releases. So that's what a lot of, outside our industry, at least, that's what I've been seeing is a lot of people are kind of like tricking the system because it's the most authoritative way of doing it is to submit a press release, have these big publications backlink you when they take that press release and write something about it. So that is awesome. That's a great way to build that authority, right? And then get mentioned in other places. So same with brands. Like if you can partner with brands and be able to have them backlink you, you backlink them. I still think that, oh my gosh, I'm going to totally blank on it. The one room challenge that has been going on for years. I love that for backlinks, also just for community building. Like, I think it's great. I've only had a chance to participate once, but I think that's great if you don't even know where to start. You can definitely participate in contests or, be featured in maybe you're an IDS member and there's the IDS list. That's a great way that if you're already a member, you can say, hey, like maybe here's another way for me to get notoriety and featured. And then that is a backlink to your website. Okay. So you don't need a PR person to do this. I recently brought on somebody this year and she just barely started doing some kind of outreach for me, but she really was helping a lot more with just cleaning up my marketing and helping me with direction and all that stuff. Julia is wonderful, by the way, from The Lifestyle Historian. So she doesn't necessarily do PR for me. I brought her in as marketing. However, she has introduced me, because her background is PR, to a lot of different avenues that we could take. And honestly, probably not even knowing this part of it with this new AI backlinking thing. I'm sure she's privy to it and obviously understands that like it's a great thing. I don't know that I'll have to ask her that after this if she knows that these press releases really help with the AI searchability as well and the credibility. The more you have out there, the higher your rankings can be within these AI searches because you're just building that cred, right? You're just building all the other people are going to hype you up and talk about that. So think about that, what that means for you. And maybe that even just means getting creative, especially during these interesting times, and creating a partnership with like other designers. I have to give a shout out to the Design Besties because they started doing that, and go check them out on Instagram. 4 just absolutely wonderful humans. And they have come together from all corners of the country to just do nice things together for teachers to redo their space in schools. And so that's how they kind of started. And then together they're building each other up and they're backlinking each other and they're just doing great things. So like because of that, they're being seen, but they all have their individual companies. They just come together to do nice things for people. And I just love that. I just think that they're the best people. So go check them out. I should have them on. I should definitely have him on. Okay, I'll reach out to him later. All right. I need to stop having tangents with myself during this podcast. I need a guest on here pretty soon, but I've been so busy with what I'm going to be sharing with you guys later that I'm just kind of like, okay, I have half an hour I'm going to record today. This podcast, I'm just like, whatever. I hope you guys enjoy it. I think this podcast should be a CEU, honestly, like the amount of information I just provided you all with, but it's the digging in and actually doing it that we would probably get into. So let me know if you want this as an actual workshop in class, because this is a lot of just random information I'm sharing with you today. Anyway, there's just one other thing that I want to mention, and that is like these high. You guys remember the sales pages? The really long, here's all the information 50,000 times. You can check out here, you can check out here, you can check out here. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, why do we need that? Why do we need that funnel? Nobody ever wanted to read that, but all of those have really started to die, which is fantastic. I don't love that. So with that being said, I'm being really intentional because, I had the option for what I'm doing to do something in that format where it's like, here's why you need this. Here's all these things. Here's all these testimonials and all that stuff. But I find that being able to just say, here's the info, click it and buy it is what people want, right? Like, I don't have the time in my day to sit here and read an entire sales page. I would just use AI assistant to pop it up on the side and say, tell me the gist, like I'm not sitting here and reading this. And I think that that's kind of where we've gone. People aren't reading anymore, which is also why I love the chat conversations like voice to voice and the audio recaps that I can get from my big summaries of things. I just like to listen versus read. So because of that, I think that the way that people are purchasing when they get to your site is also different. So not saying that you've had, these long format sales pages, unless if you were selling, a coaching product or something like that, or an event or something. But just think about the easiest way to purchase. And I know that this is something that I personally am also working on because as I grew my AI for interior designers over the past 2 years, since starting in 2023 with our first class in October, which is so crazy that here we are 2 years later. There's a lot of stuff in there and like it was getting convoluted. And so for that reason, you just keep adding and it's layers and layers and years of stuff that goes on your website. And then there has to be a point where you're like, I got to get in there and clean this up, or I need somebody to do that for me, your web person, if you've got one. And if you don't have that issue, then maybe you're not updating your website enough because like it's a living, breathing thing. And if you do want to still show up in search results, like you should still be putting in like, hey, I'm still here, at least something constantly. Okay. But as I'm doing what I'm doing and am being elusive about it today, but hopefully you'll find out next week is my goal on Tuesday. So as I'm going through all of this, I'm rebuilding a website so that it is the cleanest possible way. There's no clutter. Here's what you're here for. Here's what you get. And I'm kind of doing these wayfinding color systems. And then behind the image of that wayfinding system that is very simple, I think, and I hope you find it the same. Behind that image is where I'm putting words as well. So putting them on my site, but in minimal format. And then the image is also SEO optimized, which is like saying, when you click on this, this is what it is. There's all that stuff inside of the back end for AI SEO of ChatGPT, of Squarespace. But there's one thing that you do need to make sure that you do, and that is make sure that you have it toggled on if you want to show up in ChatGPT and these large language models, which is a whole conversation for another day, because it's like, if you turn that on, great, you could show up in these search results that now Google has basically like shut down, right? 60% of people are not going to that next click there. So if you shut that down and say, no, large language models can't search my website, which is an option, it's a good thing because they can't scrub your site and they can't like take your stuff and train their models, right? However, you also can't be found. So this is, again, a conversation for another day where it's like, how much of my content do I put out there for everybody to just take and use and see, right? And then how much of it is something that's helping me to be found online. So our industry sucks right now for that. It sucks because I have ethics. I know a lot of you have ethics when it comes to using these large language models and creating imagery and not stealing other designers' imagery that they've paid thousands of dollars to have professionally photographed, and taking that and then running it through large language models and saying, create something like this. We're not doing that as professionals generally, I would hope, right? Because golden rule, do what you want to others as you want done to you. Yeah, I think I got it today. I don't want people to steal my stuff, right? I know homeowners are doing that. And I know that all of these accounts on Instagram that are just like, here's all the nano banana prompts that you need to, as a designer, to, put all of the furniture that you want to see into your room. You're teaching everybody on the internet to do that. So when you do that, they're going to go take your images from your professional website and use that as inspiration to say, okay, Google, go find something on Wayfair that looks like this sofa from this designer. And then I'm going to drop that into my room because I know how, because people have been telling me how to do that on Instagram forever. Why would I need a designer, right? There's always going to be those people. And if we have, and now that bucket's getting bigger and bigger. Those were the e-design people, the DIYers. And now that market is getting larger, right? Especially with the accessibility. So I try and watch what I teach online for that reason, to protect this industry. And I find it somewhat devastating when people make that their entire online personality, especially when they're not even designers. It's like I've seen people that teach AI on Instagram that take stuff from designers' websites and use it for their examples. And then I've seen the comments from those designers saying, that's my floor plan. And they're like, oh, awesome. So glad that you saw it. And it's like, what are we doing? You're not a designer. You're teaching designers how to do something that you have now stolen from professional designers. Okay, anyway, I am on a wicked tangent right now, but this is a double-edged sword. And I want you to know that things have changed and you have to be adaptable, but creating authority in your space has never been more important. You cannot sit on this. If you want to be competitive in this market and be seen online, you have to change the way that you're doing things or start doing things with your website. Get out there, get backlinks, try and do press releases, consider the words that you're saying, add FAQ pages. Just make sure that what you're putting out there on your website is helping you. Watch those analytics. Watch them. You have to. It is part of your business. Okay. And if you don't know anything about your business. I'm just going to say it. Like, if you don't know where any of your clients come from or any of your traffic comes from or why they didn't purchase something, what are you doing with your time? You're just spinning your wheels. Okay. You have to know. We didn't go to school for this. We didn't learn this in school, but you have to know it now more than ever. Like, more than ever, because I'm watching small businesses close weekly and I don't want that to happen to you. Okay. Get in line with your numbers, figure out how to update your website if you don't know how, and look up in any of your large language models what zero-click search is and why it is a crisis right now. Okay? All right, that's it for today. Next week, I'm going to come back and I'm going to hopefully have some insane, cool, awesome, I think, program releases for you guys for the new year. It's something that I have been working on for so long, and it is, oh my gosh, it's about to come to fruition. Exciting things on the horizon for 2026. Hope to see you guys there. I alluded to a few things here, but you don't even know a third of it, guys. It's crazy. All right. Have a great day. I will talk to you guys next time. All right. Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the AI for Interior Designers podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and tune in next week for more AI tips for your design business. See you next time.